Tonight, coronavirus blowback.
We really don't got to call this out for what it is. It's a fundamental attack on our rights.
The backlash against vaccine and mask mandates across the country.
If we want our economy to be back, if we want our schools to stay in session, we've got to take steps to make sure workplaces and learning environments are safe.
Plus,
who's behind the partisan recall of Governor Gavin Newsom?
The latest campaign push in the Golden State. What's at stake in California?
The rising crime, the rising homelessness, the rising cost of living.
All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Mandate backlash growing louder by the day. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder.
Good evening. I'm John Jessup. Opposition is mounting even as the rules to President Biden's vaccine mandates are still being written.
And still there are questions about whether they're constitutional or go far enough to include religious exemptions. Not to mention vaccine safety for kids becoming a top priority.
CBN's Brody Carter has our top story tonight. Brody.
John, Jenna, the impact of the president's sweeping executive orders will affect millions, from families to workers to employers. We did find how legal experts are offering options to those concerned about forced vaccinations.
This is not about freedom or personal choice. It's about protecting yourself and those around you.
I think he's gone too far. You can't make people get an injection.
Many questioning the constitutionality of this emergency private sector vaccine mandate.
It's unconstitutional as a matter of separation of powers.
Roger Gannon with Liberty Counsel says Biden is pulling his power from OSHA, the Labor Department's safety enforcer, using the growing infection rate as a catalyst to mandate vaccinations.
We're already seeing hundreds of people call us asking for advice on religious exemptions. Many of them are filing their own complaints through the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or EEOC. It's inevitable there will be a lot of litigation against not only the private employers, but against the government itself because of this.
Legal experts at Alliance Defending Freedom plan to do just that, saying, quote, should these mandates encroach on the First Amendment freedoms and autonomy of religious institutions, ADF stands ready to challenge the administration in federal court.
The rules are being created, but we have obviously had religious exemptions even for federal employees. I'm sure that will be a factor taken into consideration.
Religious exemptions are protected in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which requires employers to provide reasonable accommodations for employees who object to certain requirements based on sincerely held religious beliefs.
The employers cannot require the employee to get a pastor or any third party to validate or vouch for the sincerely held religious beliefs. Religious beliefs are personal, and the law only requires that they be sincere. The law doesn't require that they be the same as someone else's or approved by a denomination.
Those companies which grant religious accommodations could require those unvaccinated employees to wear masks, socially distance, and undergo weekly COVID testing, which could lead to an entirely new list of issues such as supply and who pays for the tests. Roger went on to encourage anyone with a religious exemption to exercise your right to do so, whether that be on the basis of your body being a holy temple or refusing to vaccinate based on research that involved aborted fetal cells. That decision is yours, and religious beliefs are personal. You can always seek personalized legal counsel by going to their website, lc.org. John, Jenna, back to you.
All right, Brady Carter, thank you very much. And here with us now is Roger Severino, a senior fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center and former director of the Office for Civil Rights at the Department of Health and Human Services. Roger, welcome. It's great to have you with us this evening. So what do these mandates mean for businesses?
Well, it depends if you're covered. It's an incredible overreach by the federal government to say, under OSHA, a health and safety occupational standard, that any business over 100 employees must follow this new mandate. This is such a stretch of federal power. We have not seen something like this before since, I guess, Obamacare, when the government tried to take over healthcare. So if you are above that cap, it's an open question as to whether or not the federal government has the power to do this. And think about what OSHA is about. It's about chemical exposures in the workplace, hard hat regulations on construction sites. Never do they go into a person's personal medical records to find out what their immunization history is. This is conduct outside of the workplace that they say must be part of the workplace. This is a real stretch, And we live under a constitution of enumerated powers, separation of powers, and federalism. This is not the way it should be. And under the cover of emergency powers, I just don't see enough legal support for this overreach on the part of the Biden administration.
Roger, in your career, you fought for religious freedom and freedom of conscience for years. Can you give us some examples of religious reasons for opposing vaccine mandates that you think will be able to hold up in court as religious exemptions?
Yes, and people are entitled to religious accommodations under Title VII of employment discrimination law. People need to exercise their rights. Now, it has to be absolutely sincere. And for those who object to the taking of human life and abortion and the use of aborted fetal cells in the development or testing of these vaccines, then they have a legitimate, sincere religious claim, and they should be accommodated. Other religious beliefs vary tremendously, and it could be personalized to the person. It doesn't have to be based on a hierarchical religion. It is an individualized, sincere assessment. And if your religious beliefs say, I cannot in good conscience accept this, I should not be pressured to accept this, then that should be respected to the extent allowed under the law. Now, the test has to be strengthened. That's why we need a strong Supreme Court to say religious accommodations, even under these circumstances, need to be respected. We already give accommodations for medical reasons. We need to do it for religion as well.
How are those backed up, though? You say sincerely held religious beliefs, which we know the courts have upheld, but how do you back that up?
What we want to avoid is employers, and worst of all, the federal government becoming some sort of Star Chamber inquisitorial board, probing into people's religious beliefs. If a person says, these are my reasons, I disagree with abortion, sanctity of human life, I know that the aborted fetal cells were part of the testing, that should be it. That should be the case closed on whether or not they have a sincere belief. You don't need a letter from your pastor. You don't need a letter from a synagogue. Your statement of your sincere religious beliefs should be the end of the matter, unless they have some reason to think you're lying, but most people of faith don't. These are things that are things that cost them to put themselves out there to tell their employer because they're face retaliation. So it should be taken on its face as sincere in most cases.
All right, Roger Severino, we have to leave it there. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Well, on the political front, all eyes are on California ahead of tomorrow's high-stakes recall election for Governor Gavin Newsom.
A state law allows for recall if enough registered voters sign a petition supporting it. At the heart of the ballot tomorrow in the Golden State, COVID-19.
The contrast and the stakes could not be higher. This election is a matter of life and death. Public health is on the ballot.
President Biden is among the Democrats rushing to Newsom's side before the vote. This evening's appearance following last week's visit by Vice President Harris and a boost from former President Obama. Among the 46 challengers, former Olympic gold medalist Caitlyn Jenner and businessman John Cox campaigning, get this, with a bear by his side, and popular conservative talk radio host Larry Elder, who's leading the pack by far.
The first things I'm going to do is repeal the requirement for state workers that they have to be tested once a week and they have to wear masks.
A Republican win could potentially lead to Democrats losing their majority in the U.S. Senate. For example, if 88-year-old Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein were to retire, the governor would pick her replacement, and that could tip the balance in what right now is an evenly split Senate. Still, the latest polls appear to be on Newsom's side. According to 538, about 56% of California voters want to keep him in office.
And with us now, CBN News chief political analyst David Brody and editor and publisher of Inside Elections, Nathan Gonzales. Nathan, you just heard that poll that Jenna cited. What is the latest polling information that you've been seeing? And can you help explain exactly what Californians will be voting on? I understand there's 2 votes.
Right. So the 538 number that Jenna mentioned is actually an average of multiple polls. It's not just one. And right now the polls show that the recall question is going to fail, or the no is going to win by between 15 and 18 points. Now, you know, we've all been doing this long enough that we tread into this into election projections with caution. But the evidence right now shows that the recall is going to fail. Now, you're right. This is a little bit clunky. You know, the timing is different. We're in mid-September and not November. But also there are 2 questions. Voters will first see the first question. Should Governor Gavin Newsom be recalled? Yes or no? If yes, if yes is more than 50%, Then it goes to the second question where there are 46 candidates on the ballot. The top vote getter wins, even if it's with 25%, then that top vote getter will be the next governor as long as the recall passes in the first question.
David, what are your thoughts on, Larry Elder, for example? Do you think one of these candidates can unseat Governor Newsom?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I mean, all of the polling suggests that Newsom's going to beat this. But let's also remember, I'm not sure if Gavin Newsom really wants to have a victory party. Remember, this just in, he's in a recall election. I'm not sure if you celebrate recall election victories, but that's where he is. So look, I think what we're going to look for, and here we go again, dare I say the word election fraud, but already KTLA in Los Angeles reporting that some Republicans showing up at voting places today. Once again, this is KTLA in Los Angeles, a major station out there. Republicans showing up at ballot stations across California. And when they get there, they are told that they have already voted. And they say, wait a minute, I'm right here in person. I haven't voted. They say, yes, you have. So we're going to see a lot of fraud allegations after this. I think that's where the aftermath of all of this is going.
Yeah, very interesting. David, I want to switch gears here a little bit. Justice Amy Coney Barrett made some news over the weekend saying the Supreme Court is, and this is a quote, not a bunch of partisan hacks, rather defined by judicial philosophies which are not the same as political parties. What did you make of her comment and possible motivation here?
Well, I think she's right in the sense of, we say partisan hacks and everybody will laugh and go, of course they're partisan hacks. Well, hold on for a second. I mean, look, if you subscribe to a certain judicial philosophy, then most likely you're going to come down on one side or the other when it comes to ideology, excuse me, I couldn't say it, and political party. That doesn't mean they're conservative or Republican or Democrat or liberal. But if you're an originalist, then most likely you're going to see things from a conservative standpoint, not all the time, but most of the time, and vice versa on the liberal side, if you see a living, breathing Constitution. So I didn't really think there was too much to her comments. I thought, everybody's trying to read the tea leaves. But, look, we'll see how Amy Coney Barrett votes in some of these key upcoming decisions.
David, I thought it was interesting, though. She did say something along the lines, and pardon me if my memory's a little hazy. It's been all day since I read her quotes, but she was saying that sometimes she doesn't even like the conclusions that they end up reaching, and it isn't because they have a political scorecard, but because of those judicial philosophies that they're trying to mete out. Why do you think she wanted to get that out there, and why now?
Well, we can only speculate. You wonder if she's having some reservations on certain pro-life issues that are going to come the court's way. We don't know. This is just speculation on my part, but that's kind of like the betting, the bet at this point. But who knows? I can just tell you that you're going to see it more from a living, breathing Constitution standpoint rather than an originalist standpoint.
Nathan, so former President Trump, he seems to be getting closer to yes on running in 2024. I'd like to get your thoughts on that and what you think of this decision, if he does decide to run, if it could affect the 2022 midterms.
Yeah, well, I think President Trump is going to run again, but you can put me in the camp of doubting that he's going to make a decision imminently. To me, it would be out of character for him. I think at his core, President Trump is a showman. He loves the suspense. He likes the intrigue, and that comes from his television days. I think he's going to drag this decision out for a long time because it keeps people asking. Now, if he were to announce, or when he does announce, particularly if it's before the 2022 elections, I think that could actually boost, it could help Democrats. I know that sounds strange, but right now, Democrats are searching for a way to gain some enthusiasm. Right now, I think Republicans have the enthusiasm edge because Democrats are in control of Congress and for other host of issues. But if President Trump looks like another threat to come back into government to the Democratic Party, I think that could energize some Democrats who are right now either satisfied that President Trump was defeated or they don't see the urgency because Democrats are in control of Washington.
All right, gents, we are plumb out of time. Thank you so much, Nathan and David. We hope to see you again next week.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
And coming up, a major meeting in the Middle East, the first of its kind in more than a decade.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back. Hamas, Iran, and trade and tourism were the top issues discussed between the leaders of Israel and Egypt today, the first such meeting in more than a decade. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett seen here with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi together in the Sinai Peninsula Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. Bennett, who became Prime Minister in June, said the meeting created a foundation for deep ties in the future.
And here with us now, and for more on that, CBN News senior international correspondent George Thomas. George, what are the big takeaways from today's meeting?
Yeah, so not sure if it was as a result of today's meeting between the two leaders, but Israeli media, guys, is reporting that Egypt Air, the national airline of Egypt, will start running direct flights between Cairo and Tel Aviv starting next month. Flights between the two countries have been running continuously since the 1980s, but were operated by a subsidiary of Egypt Air and in unmarked planes without the Egyptian flag. Well, this new announcement means flights will now be openly run by the national carrier, and that's also a big deal. Also, Al Arabiya is reporting that Egypt has offered to host an international peace conference in an effort to revive talks between Israelis and Palestinians. As you know, peace talks between the two have collapsed since 2014, and there's been very little traction since then. Bennett and Sisi also discussed threats from Iran, the crisis in Lebanon, and security conditions in the Gaza Strip. Guys?
George, shortly before leaving for Egypt, Prime Minister Bennett warned that time is running out for Iran to get a nuclear weapon. Can you give us some of the details of that warning?
Yeah, the Prime Minister said Iran's nuclear program is at the most advanced point ever and said inspection of Iranian nuclear sites must continue. In early September, the International Atomic Energy Agency said the regime continues to increase its stockpile of highly enriched uranium. This as IAEA inspectors still haven't had access to their verification and monitoring equipment since February. Well, the head of the IAEA just returned from Tehran today, saying the regime made no promises regarding access to those equipments. Guys?
George, while we have you here, North Korea making news this weekend after it reportedly carried out a test of new long-range cruise missile. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, North Korea calling the new missile, quote, a strategic weapon of great significance. Pyongyang said the cruise missiles flew for more than 2 hours in the air before hitting their targets 930 miles away and then falling into the North Korean waters. Experts say this new missile could have nuclear capability. As you can imagine, neighbors Japan and South Korea reacted to the missile test, calling it a threat to peace and stability in the region. John and Jenna, back to you guys.
All right, George Thomas, thank you for all of your great answers to our tough questions. Thanks, George.
You're welcome.
George. When we come back, a 500-mile trek through 6 states, all culminating in one man's deeply personal tribute to the victims of 9/11.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to cbnnewschannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back. Tonight, the long walk is over for the man who trekked 500 miles to honor his brother, a firefighter killed in the 9/11 attacks 20 years ago. Frank Siller's journey to honor his brother, Stephen, took him to each side of the terrorist attacks on U.S. soil, from the Pentagon to Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and on to New York's Ground Zero. And Frank, who is also the CEO of Tunnel to Towers, joins us now. Frank, welcome. Great to have you on the show this evening. So tell us about this incredible trek. What did you feel when you made that final step?
Well, it was a labor of love, for sure. I wanted to do something to honor my youngest brother. He was 34 when he gave his life. He was a New York City firefighter who, on September 11, 2001, was on his way home to play golf with me and my other brothers, and went back to his firehouse when he heard what happened, got his gear, drove to the mouth of the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. It was closed for security reasons, so he strapped 60 pounds of gear on his back, and he ran through that tunnel, which is almost 2 miles long, and came out the other side and wanted to save and help lives. And he did that, but he gave up his own while doing so. So I wanted to do something special to honor him for 20 years, so I figured what better way than to go to the 3 locations that we had such unbelievable loss of life, which was at the Pentagon and at the Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and of course the Ground Zero. And I'm very happy I did it, because you know what, I helped shine a big light on what happened 20 years ago, and most certainly about what my brother did.
In an emotional 20-year anniversary for all of the victims' families and in the nation, and really people around the world. You know, you were just describing your brother, and it shows a lot of his integrity and character to on his day off, go back and voluntarily do what he did. Your brother, Stephen, is not only a firefighter, but a hero who died in those attacks 20 years ago. What is it that you want people to remember most about him?
Well, that he gave it all. That he was married. He was a father of 5, but when he had a call to duty, he responded. And you know, while he was saving lives, and maybe over 20,000 people, you know, were rescued that day. And even though we lost 2,977 Americans, they were murdered. Not Stephen. Stephen gave his life, and as we know, no greater love than one that gives his life for his friend. And Stephen did that, and so did 343 firefighters, over 60 police officers, and other individuals who going in and out of those buildings, you know, saving lives. And how about the 40 on Flight 93 that took that plane back and went down? Those people are heroes, and we can never forget.
Frank, just a few seconds left here, but tell us about Tunnel to Towers and the amazing work that you all do.
Well, we build specially adapted smart homes for our country's most catastrophically injured service members. We also pay off mortgages and build homes for Gold Star families who have young families that are left behind after they gave their life for our country. And then last but not least, we do the same for fallen first responders who die for our communities that give up their lives and leaves young families behind. So this year alone, we're delivering 200 mortgage-free homes for the 20th anniversary. Wow. And it's a lot. So, but we ask people to join us and help us because we can't do it without the generosity of Americans. Go to T2T.org, and we ask people to donate as little as $11 a month, and that's T2T.org.
Frank, we are out of time. Incredibly important work. Thank you for what you're doing. Frank Siller, CEO of Tunnel to Towers. Thank you again for being here.
Thanks,
and we'll never forget the sacrifice of your brother and others. We'll be back right after the break.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Finally tonight, a sensational win for the first British woman to win a major singles final in 45 years.
Yeah, Emma Raducanu even received a congratulations letter from the Queen herself.
It's incredible. I was so honoured and grateful to have received a note from Her Majesty. I mean, it meant everything to me, and I'll probably frame that letter and keep it in my room or something.
And the 18-year-old defeated her teen counterpart without dropping a set. Congratulations to her.
Big congrats. Thanks for watching.